Hello everyone and welcome to the latest press conference review. I am here at the blisteringly cold AXA Training Centre at Kirby, and Arne Slot has just delivered his pre-match press conference ahead of the game against Nottingham Forest. Now, we've all been away for a nice 2 weeks. International football has taken over, but I'm sure all of you are ready to be back in the club game. Well, unfortunately, there has been some remnants from that international break that has left Liverpool feeling a little bit blue, or should I say red, really. There's some good news in as much as Alisson is back and seems like he'll be ready to play against Nottingham Forest, but there have been a few more added to that injury list. And I think without any further ado, we should get into it, because top takeaway number one covers exactly that injury list. So here it is. Top takeaway number one: Liverpool have lost this international break. Now, if you go back to the last international break in October, Liverpool had a great time, or should I say Liverpool players had a great time. Lots of people played well, lots of people scored goals, lots of people felt good in what they were doing, including two of the players who are going to be now missing in Florian Wirtz and Conor Bradley. Well, that didn't do them a whole lot of good in the Liverpool games that came after that. So with Liverpool doing badly in this international break, the hope is maybe the opposite will be true. We'll have to wait and see. But here is the headline news. I mentioned Florian Wirtz and Conor Bradley are both injured. Florian Wirtz will miss this Forest game and may be back in contention in a couple of days or a couple of games. Bradley is a little bit longer. He's going to be missing for at least the next block of 7 games in 3 weeks, and also we have to remember Jeremie Frimpong, the other right back, is also out, so that presents quite the issue. In terms of players having a good time, there was obviously Hugo Ekitike, who did well for France, Andy Robertson, who did fantastically well for Scotland, but that is weighted against the heartbreak that Milos Kerkez and Dominic Soboslai had for Hungary, and Alexander Isak, who not only didn't get to play in the second game for Sweden, but also knows that they got up against it in terms of having a playoff spot with the new manager, Graham Potter, in situ. So physically and mentally, lots of players had a lot of problems in this international break. Now, when Liverpool have been playing poorly, you want them to go away, have fun, enjoy football again, and come back with a bounce in their step. This hasn't happened for very many of them. As I mentioned before, though, the opposite didn't really do a lot of good last time, so maybe it will be better this time round. Maybe they'll be lucky and looking forward to getting back into club action with Liverpool, and that will spur them on to greater deeds. Now, that one feeds rather nicely into top takeaway number 2. Slot has got a very big question at right back. Now, I mentioned Frimpong is injured, Conor Bradley is injured. There are some other options who could play at right back, Dominic Soboslai being the principal of them. He's the one who's filled in when those two haven't been in there. But you also have Joe Gomez, you have Curtis Jones, who played right back towards the end of last season, and you have Endo. Now, I think some people would be suspecting maybe because Florian Wirtz is also injured, you keep Dominic Soboslai in midfield and then you bring Joe Gomez in as your right back. But Slot did mention the fact that Gomez has only played 90 minutes twice in the whole of 2025, and we're in mid-November. So it sounds like Slot is kind of reluctant to say that Gomez is going to be his starting right back going forward, and have any trust in him to be able to maintain himself over that run of games. And to be honest, it's understandable why he wouldn't have that trust. As I said, he has been injured for a considerable amount of time for Arne Slot, and also the more you get injuries, the more you are more likely to get injuries, and I feel like Slot is very much in this situation where he's fearing the worst when it comes to fitness. He's taking no chances. I think we saw that at Manchester City when Alexander Isak didn't come off the bench, and we're probably going to see it in a few other decisions he makes across the next few weeks. He's not taking any chances. So while I do think that Joe Gomez will be playing some games at right back, I'm not necessarily sure that he's going to be playing the majority of them, which does bring into view the other two I mentioned, Curtis Jones and Endo. When you look at the games Liverpool are going to be playing, I think of PSV, I think of Nottingham Forest, I think of Sunderland at home, maybe even Leeds United away. There's lots of games where Liverpool are going to be dominating the ball. So that makes you think that maybe having the extra midfielder like Jones The show say that playmaking midfielder like Jones is probably going to make some sense to see him maybe play some minutes at right back as well. He has been heavily underutilised so far this season when you consider everyone else, his teammates are running off all around the world playing international football. He's been kicking his heels at home. Maybe this is the time of season. Maybe this is where Curtis Jones puts his hands up and becomes a really, really important player for Arne Slot. You'd hope so, because he has the quality, and I think he's been underrated in terms of the performances he has put in when asked this season. So who knows? But I do expect to see a bit of a hodgepodge being played at right back, which I suspect may not be good news for Mohamed Salah either. There's been lots of talk about how he has not been benefiting from having a regular right back, and Trent Alexander-Arnold in particular behind him. I did feel like he was just starting to get used to Conor Bradley, which makes it a shame that now he's going to have to try and get used to maybe 2 or 3 other options behind him. We'll have to wait and see exactly what kind of effect that has. But yes, it's a real shame that you're getting one of the linchpins back in defence in Alisson, and then you're throwing the defence back up in the air with an injury like this. Top takeaway number 3. Arne Slot isn't thinking about transfers, but someone is. Slot was actually quite surprised to be asked a question about transfers, or at least he said he was quite surprised. I mean, he should have known better from Vinny and Sky Sports. But he said he wasn't very thinking about transfers right now, with so many games between now and the opening of the January transfer window. Vinny's question was more centred around the centre-back situation, and in particular Mark Guehi. And Slot kind of flat-batted it away, saying, as I said, he's not thinking about that right now. But he did slip in there, I'm not thinking about it right now. It's not on my mind right now. Probably not the same for Richard Hughes. Which was like, okay. So, sometimes you can read too much into these little asides from Arne Slot. He is someone who likes to have a joke, and we've also spoken many times about his Dutch bluntness. So maybe there's a little bit of this in there. But my gut feeling is, he didn't have to say that. He didn't have to say anything about Richard Hughes. He didn't even have to mention transfers. He could have continued on his path of, this is not the time, we've got too much on my plate, we're worrying about the games, we've got all these players, etc, etc. And he did go on to talk about all of the different centre-back options Liverpool do have at the moment, although I did sense a slight reluctance to throw Ryan and Wataru Endo in there, with the way he was like, maybe Ryan, whereas previously, I'm sure in the summer when he was asked this question, he was a bit more robust about the idea of Ryan Gravenberch being a centre-back option. All of this is to say that Richard Hughes is employed to look at recruitment. Richard Hughes is employed in squad building, and I think it would be fair to say that in some of the conversations between Arne Slot and Richard Hughes, the subject of, is this squad complete, does it need more fixing, will have come up quite a few times. And I wouldn't be surprised if the answer was, no, it's not complete, yes, it does need more fixing. I've tried in a couple of ways this season to try and tip at the idea from Arne Slot as to whether he's getting what he thought he was getting from the new recruits. And I guess the only really way to see that is exactly what Liverpool do in the transfer window. But as much as I expected Arne Slot to say nothing that interesting and give nothing away in terms of he wasn't going to come out and say, yes, we're going to sign Mark Guehi, Crystal Palace, watch out. I would not be surprised to see Liverpool doing some stuff in the January transfer window, which is good news for a lot of you out there, I know. Now, speaking of things that caught Arne Slot on the hop, here's his answer to my question, which is about Liverpool's lack of fast starts this season. Hi Arne, you've spoken a lot about the ability of the benefits of playing with the lead, and a big part of that is making a fast start. In comparison to last season, Liverpool haven't made as many fast starts. I think it's only once in 17 games that was scored in the first half an hour of a game, compared to 22 times just in the league last season. What do you think that's down to, and how do you think you can get that back?
I wasn't aware of that stat, although I am aware that we mostly go 1-0 down instead of 1-0 up recently. I cannot give you an explanation for that at this moment of time. I maybe need a little bit more time to think about it, but it does have an impact on a game because, I said many times that City deserved the lead in the first half completely. But it does make a big difference if you go 1-1 into half time. then when a goal is disallowed, how did he exactly say it? For not unreasonable reasons. And then 2 seconds later you're 2-0 down. So yeah, goals have a lot of impact on games. That's for sure. So yeah, but I cannot give you an explanation why it is actually at this moment.
I must admit, I was slightly surprised to hear Slot so taken aback by my questioning. And I mean, there was a part of me that was like, oh, I found a stat that he didn't know about. But also like, why didn't he know about it? I mean, surely he'd have been able to notice that the starts haven't been as great this season. Maybe he wasn't aware of how good they were last season. 22 times, as I say, out of 38 games, Liverpool scored in the first half an hour, which makes such a massive difference to how you can go about your game plan and how the opponents can go about theirs. And I was hoping that he would be aware of it, because I was hoping that he was looking into exactly how to fix it, because fast starts have been a big part of successful Liverpool teams long before Arne Slot. You think of Jurgen Klopp, you think of even Rafa Benitez, you think of pretty much every successful Liverpool team there's been since the Shankly era. They've been about, particularly at home at Anfield, getting the crowd on side with a fast start, whether that be with goals, whether that be with setting the tempo, intensity, all of these things feed into it. And if you look at Liverpool and what they haven't been doing this season, and anyone who hasn't read Michael Reed's fantastic Substack piece where he breaks down all the stats of the season, I suggest you go out there and read it now. One of the things that two of the things that he mentions in there, number one, the slow build-up play from Liverpool. The fact that they have had more possession but less passes means that they're holding on to the ball longer. There's been less long passing chains that end up with a shot or an entry into the final third, which suggests that Liverpool's passing and Liverpool's build-up play has been a bit sterile, which I'm sure the eye test will confirm from most of you. But the flip side of that as well is that when Liverpool have been making chances, they haven't been converting them. Of the opt-to-defined big chances, Liverpool have taken 25%, which is the third lowest in the whole league. So you compare that to the opponents, who at the moment seem to be taking the first chance that they get against Liverpool, and then you add that to Liverpool not taking theirs, you can see why Liverpool are going behind a lot of time in games, and they're not able to then put their own mark on a game. And you think about a game at home against Nottingham Forest. Yes, this is going to be a team who come out with a defensive game plan. Yes, we know how good they were at Anfield last season. But this is the kind of game to get yourself into it early. Get an early goal, get the crowd behind you, get that intensity up, get that confidence up. Go out there and play your football. So it was a kind of a surprise that Slot wasn't thinking along those lines. Who knows? Maybe he will now. Yeah. I doubt I had that much influence, let's be real. But yeah, it was something that I kind of flagged up as like, oh, maybe he's looking at other ways to fix this problem. Maybe there are other things higher on his priority list. But if he is listening, hiya, yes, a fast start I think would do a world of good, not just for your team, but for everyone else in the stands watching. So there you have it, that is today's press conference review. As you can probably tell, I've got some new kit here. Hopefully the audio issues that you've been very vocal about over the last few weeks are going to be fixed by this. If not, let me know. I will be at the game tomorrow, so there will be a match report coming out on my Substack. Got some very, very, very exciting news about my Substack coming soon. I'll let you know that in the next week or so. I have been on the Anfield Wrap and will be again over the next couple of weeks. Of course, you can catch me on the Late Challenge every Monday with my good friend Gareth Roberts, and I'll be all round about doing lots of other things, some of which I will be telling you about in future weeks as well. So, exciting times in the world of Liverpool, exciting times in the world of Mr. Mo. So hopefully they can combine some happy times, some happy results, good fun, and everybody having a nice old time. Wouldn't that be great? See you soon.